Aziza opened her eyes, feeling confused. She found herself in a dimly lit room with a musty smell in the air. Her head hurt, and she couldn't remember how she got there. The last thing she recalled was being at home with her family, getting ready for bed. As her eyes adjusted to the darkness, she noticed strange markings on the walls, complicated symbols that seemed to pulse with an eerie glow. A chill went down her spine as she realized she was in some kind of ritual room. Suddenly, a figure came out of the shadows, its face hidden by a hooded cloak. "Welcome back, Aziza," a raspy voice said. "Or should I say, welcome to the truth." Aziza tried to speak, but her throat was dry, and all that came out was a croak. The cloaked figure chuckled. "I can see the confusion in your eyes. Let me explain. The life you thought you knew, the memories of you being chosen by the river goddess, it was all an illusion, a made-up story created by my magic." Aziza's heart raced as the figure's words sank in. Her entire existence, everything she had believed in, was a lie. "You see, Aziza, I am the Timeweaver, a being that can control the very fabric of reality," the figure continued. "And you, my dear, are caught in an endless loop, a cycle of deception that I have created for my own amusement." Aziza tried to make sense of it all, but her mind was spinning. She had thought she was destined for greatness, to guide humanity with the river goddess's power. But now, she realized she had been nothing more than a pawn in some twisted game. The Timeweaver came closer, its presence overwhelming. "You have lived countless lifetimes, experienced countless rebirths, each one more horrific than the last. And yet you never seem to learn, never seem to break free from my web of lies." Aziza's heart sank as flashes of memories, or were they illusions, flooded her mind. Visions of herself as a rotting undead creature, trapped in the depths of the cursed river. Glimpses of herself as a sacrifice, her life brutally taken away in rituals, each memory more terrifying than the last. The Timeweaver seemed to enjoy her despair, its raspy laughter echoing through the room. "But don't be afraid, Aziza. This cycle is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning." With a wave of its hand, the markings on the walls began to glow, and Aziza felt an invisible force pulling at her very soul. She tried to scream, but no sound came out as she felt herself being ripped apart, her soul torn to pieces. The last thing she saw was the Timeweaver's twisted smile, its inhuman eyes glinting with cruel delight. And then, darkness. And a cloaked figure muttered, "The time loop continues, child." Aziza blinked her eyes open, finding herself back in her bedroom. She sat up in bed, looking around in confusion. Hadn't she just been in the cursed river with her parents, reborn as a new life with the river goddess's power? Her door opened, and her mother walked in with a warm smile. "Good morning, sleepyhead. Time to get ready for school." Aziza was baffled. "School? But what about the jungle, the undead? I'm the reborn river goddess now." Her mother laughed. "You and your wild dreams, come on, you'll be late." As her mother left, Aziza felt a chill run down her spine. Something wasn't right. She got dressed in a daze, her mind replaying the visions of the harrowing night at the cursed river over and over. At the breakfast table, her father ruffled her hair affectionately. "Looking out of it this morning, kiddo? Did you have those jungle dreams again?" Aziza looked at him, feeling uneasy. Dreams? No, it was all real. We went into the river's breath, called the river goddess, and she was reborn into me as a new life. Her parents exchanged a worried look. "Honey, I think you've been having too much fun with those storybooks," her mother said kindly. Before Aziza could argue more, her brother Raj came running down the stairs. "Come on, sis. The bus is here, we'll be late." He gave her a teasing grin. "What's wrong? Did the dinosaurs get you again last night?" Aziza followed him out in a confused daze, looking back at her parents' concerned faces. She was certain her visions of magic and becoming the reborn river goddess were real, not dreams. So why was everyone acting like nothing happened? At school, Aziza couldn't focus on lessons as she puzzled over her seemingly dual existence. She kept zoning out, seeing visions of bloody river waters and undead creatures flashing in her mind. Finally, the last bell rang for the day. Aziza numbly followed students out to the buses, still wrestling with the idea that maybe her vivid jungle experiences were just her imagination. Suddenly, a loud scream made Aziza's head snap up. Students all around were screaming and running away in terror. She froze as a gross, waterlogged dead body shuffled into view. An undead river creature straight from her visions. Its slimy body was covered in weeds and oozing gashes. Empty eye sockets locked onto Aziza as it opened its mouth, letting out a gurgling moan that chilled her blood. Paralyzed by shock and fear, Aziza stood still as the undead monster lurched towards her with rotten bony arms outstretched. It grabbed her shoulders, pulling her close enough for its putrid breath to choke her. "You are the key," it wheezed. "The time loop will never be broken." Aziza's mind reeled, trying to make sense of its cryptic words. Before she could react, a blinding light flashed, and she felt a powerful force yank her backwards. She gasped, finding herself back in her bedroom as if nothing happened. Aziza looked around wildly, her heart racing. The creature's gurgling voice echoed in her mind. The time loop will never be broken. What did it mean? Was she truly stuck in some kind of endless cycle, or just having another vivid dream? Aziza racked her brain, trying to figure out what was real. Over the next few days, the cycle repeated itself endlessly. Aziza would wake up, go through her usual routine with family, then get sent into a spiral by some paranormal event linked to her jungle visions. One morning, her brother morphed into a grotesque river zombie at breakfast before her eyes, his skin melting off as he gurgled for help. Another day, Aziza's desk at school came alive with slimy vines that lashed out and bound her, while unearthly whispers taunted, "Join us." Each time the horror would peak, then cut off with a flash of light, resetting back to Aziza's bedroom like nothing occurred. The sights and sounds haunted her relentlessly. Awake and asleep, Aziza saw visions of the cursed river, the gnarled trees in mist, the shuffling corpses crawling from the depths pursuing her. It felt so real, like a penetrating glimpse into the truths behind her strange existence. Desperate for answers, Aziza turned to books on African myths at the library. She pored over tales depicting the legends of the ancient river goddess and the cursed underworld realms. As the time loops repeated endlessly, Aziza began seeing the same strange events happening repeatedly out of the corner of her eye, like glitches overlaying her current reality. A quick shadow across the room, a weird shape darting through trees outside, a peal of strange laughter just on the edge of hearing. These weird things happened more and more often, until one day Aziza looked up from her library books to find her surroundings had changed into a twisted, hellish version of the library. Shelves went on endlessly in hallways of fire and shadow. Books were alive with slimy ooze and wriggling worms. Outside the windows, a jungle of dead, twisted trees under a sickly red sky. Aziza gasped, stumbling back from the gross scene. A raspy chuckle made her whirl around to see a hunched, skinny figure cloaked in shadow watching her with beady eyes. What's happening?" she stammered, fear gripping her chest. The strange being threw back its head, cackling loudly in an unsettling, wheezy way. "Why, I'm simply showing you what's behind the curtain, young goddess." Its wild eyes glinted with cruel glee. "The time loops trapping your tiny mind are my creation. You are just a disposable pawn in an ages-old game between this reality and the next." Its voice dropped to a sinister rasp. "I am the Timeweaver, a cosmic force that balances the delicate threads of time and space across dimensional lines. You and your reborn river goddess spirit are a dangerous abnormality that endangered my pattern. So I have unraveled and rewoven your existences on a hellish loom." The Timeweaver threw wide its arms, its skeletal form flickering between bizarre angles unlike normal space. "You are trapped in layered cycles of space-time repetitions that slowly corrupt your grasp on concrete truth. Each loop pulls you further away from what you think is reality, until your sanity unravels completely." It laughed again, a shrill, grating sound that made Aziza's skin crawl. "Eventually, your whole concept of existence will deteriorate into a nightmare continuum, from which your spirit essence can then be absorbed into my cosmic loom to maintain the terrifying balance." Aziza trembled, trying to process its maddening words. So the river goddess rebirth, the supernatural encounters, her perceived normal life, it had all been artificial fabrications in service of this godlike being's twisted aims. But why me?" she pleaded, her voice shaking. "I didn't do anything wrong. What balance needs my eternal torment like this?" The Timeweaver fixed her with its flinty gaze, amusement gone from its eyes. "You are an immense cosmic power reborn into mortal flesh, a force that could rewrite reality itself if allowed to grow unchecked," it said gravely. "Imagine entire planets, galaxies, or even whole space-time continuums being torn apart by your tumultuous awakening. My duty is to control such wild energies by any means necessary." Its form flickered disturbingly. "Look around you, child. This library is just one layer of convoluted time loops I have crafted to eternally subjugate your rogue essence. There are dimensions within dimensions here, trapping you in a paradoxical, fraying hell of my design." Aziza felt tears of terror and despair sliding down her cheeks. Was she doomed to slowly lose her identity in an infinite spiral of mind-bending cycles created by this merciless cosmic being? The Timeweaver regarded her coldly. "Do not weep, child. Your torment is a small price to pay for maintaining the cosmic balance. You should feel honored that your decimated essence will serve as threads woven into the very fabric of reality itself." With a twisting gesture of its withered hands, the library warped and contorted around them in dizzying ways. Aziza clutched her head, vertigo and nausea overwhelming her as the hellish scene liquefied and reformed in rapid, nightmarish iterations. "No, please stop," she croaked weakly, her mind splintering under the sensory onslaught. The Timeweaver only cackled louder, its form blurring into impossible shapes. "Your pleas are meaningless. You cannot begin to understand the scale of cosmic order I uphold here. All of existence itself would unravel without my constant realigning of the threads of space-time." Its laughter grew more shrill and distorted as the library melted away, replaced by a twisting cyclotronic vortex of fire and shadow. Phantom images and reversed timeline echoes flickered at the edges of the kaleidoscopic spiral all around them. "Behold the infinite rift," the nexus point where all cosmic strings converge and realign. The Timeweaver's echoing voice seemed to issue from every direction at once. Here is where your decimated spirit essence will finally become one with the source that binds all of creation into balance. Aziza could only watch helplessly, her senses overloaded as the maddening vortex's pull grew stronger. She felt her body, mind, and soul being shredded apart by paradoxical forces from fractured realities. As her very essence fragmented down to the subatomic level, Aziza's last lucid thought cried out in spiritual agony. Why? What sin could warrant such a horrific cosmic-scale fate? Was the awakening of the river goddess's power within her truly so catastrophic that it justified this eternal torment and obliteration of her entire being? Just as her consciousness reached its limit and began to shatter, a brilliant light pierced the heart of the vortex. A golden radiance flooded Aziza's fading vision, coalescing into the ethereal outline of a divine feminine figure. The river goddess herself had returned to reclaim her chosen human. "Enough, Timeweaver!" Her thunderous voice reverberated across planes of existence. "You overstep your role as space-time's watchkeeper. This innocent child shall not be your loom thread while I still draw breath." The cosmic vortex swirling around them shuddered violently as the two nigh-omnipotent forces clashed. Reality itself groaned under the metaphysical strain as the river goddess and the Timeweaver grappled for Aziza's fragmented essence. Just before Aziza's consciousness winked out completely, she felt the river flow of pure, primal energy engulf her in a massive surge of power, leaving the cosmic battlefield hanging in the balance as Aziza's spirit reformed on a vast plane of possibility.